I got out of debt and became rich with the law of attraction, but something surprising happened. I still remember that cold January morning as if it were today. Sitting in the small kitchen of my one-bedroom apartment, I stared at yet another pile of overdue bills while the coffee cooled in my cup. Mr. Lucas Thompson, final notice. I read aloud, feeling my stomach churn. "Hey, you're not going to be late again, are you?" shouted my roommate, Mike, from the living room. "The boss has already warned about the delays." I sighed, looking at the yellow and red fast food uniform hanging behind the door. At 27, this wasn't the life I had planned. In fact, when I graduated high school, I dreamed of starting a revolutionary startup. Now, all I had was $30,000 in debt and a job that barely paid the bills. "No, Mike, I'm on my way," I replied, swallowing the cold, bitter coffee. On my way to work, my phone kept vibrating. I blocked 2 more collection numbers that morning. The subway was crowded, and amidst the jolts and pushes, I found myself watching the executives with their expensive suits and leather briefcases. "Excuse me, sir," said an elderly lady. I automatically stood up to give her my seat, and she smiled. "You look tired, son." "It's just a rough patch," I replied, forcing a smile. "Rough patches are like dark clouds," she said, adjusting her purse. "They always pass, but we need to be ready when the sun comes out." Those words echoed in my head throughout my shift. Between burgers and milkshakes, I mentally calculated how long it would take to pay off all my debts with my current salary. "Lucas, the manager wants to talk to you," Sarah, my coworker, warned with a worried look. In the small, stuffy office, Mr. Thompson, our manager, got straight to the point. "Lucas, we need to cut some overtime this month. Times are tough for everyone." My world collapsed. The overtime was what allowed me to pay at least the minimum on my credit cards. "But Mr. Thompson, I need those hours. I have bills to pay." "I'm sorry, son. There's nothing I can do." I left work early that day, something rare. Wandering aimlessly through the busy downtown streets, I stopped in front of a bookstore. Not that I had money to buy books, but I needed a warm place to reorganize my thoughts. That's when I saw that book with a golden cover in the self-help section, The Secret to Attracting Wealth. Normally, I would laugh at something like that, but at that moment, I was desperate enough to try anything. I used the last $15 of my credit card limit to buy it. Little did I know that this small decision would completely change the course of my story. That night, sitting on my small bed, I started reading the book. Mike walked by the hallway and let out an ironic laugh. "Manifestation? Seriously, Lucas? Are you going to become a coach now? Don't start, man." "Let me read in peace," I replied, trying to focus on the pages. The first part of the book talked about how our thoughts create our reality. I confess I almost closed the book several times. How can I think about abundance when my phone rang every hour with collection calls? "Okay, let's try this," I murmured to myself, grabbing an old notebook. The book suggested writing clear and specific goals. I hesitated for a moment, the pen hovering over the blank paper. After a few minutes, I wrote, "By December 2024, all my debts will be paid off, and I will have $100,000 in my bank account." That's ridiculous, I thought out loud, looking at those words. The next morning, before work, I read the goal aloud, feeling a bit silly. Sarah noticed something different when I arrived at the restaurant. "You're smiling?" she asked, adjusting her name tag. "Yeah, maybe I am," I replied, surprised to realize I actually felt lighter. During my lunch break, I sat on a bench outside and closed my eyes, trying to visualize what my life would be like without debts. I imagined opening the banking app and seeing a positive balance, sleeping without worries, having the freedom to choose my next step. "Hey, dreamer." A customer's voice brought me back to reality. "Is my order ready?" I rushed back inside, but something was different. For the first time in a long time, I felt a spark of hope. It was as if a small light had turned on at the end of the tunnel. That night, I added more details to my plan. I started researching financial education on YouTube between orders. I created an improvised vision board on the wall of my room with magazine clippings. "Do you really believe in this?" Mike asked, standing in the doorway of my room. "Honestly?" "I don't know," I replied, gluing another image. "But continuing to do the same things and expecting different results isn't working, right?" He shrugged and left, but his words didn't shake me like before. Something was changing inside me, even if imperceptibly. Maybe it wasn't the law of attraction itself, but for the first time in years, I had a plan, a direction. And that, in itself, was a significant change. "Are you still on that manifestation thing?" my sister Kelly asked, pushing the plate of pasta across the table during our Sunday dinner. "I'm trying, Kelly. It's worked for some people." She interrupted me with a loud laugh. "Lucas, wake up. The universe isn't going to deposit money into your account. You need to work harder." Her words hit me like a punch in the stomach. I went home that night with a heavy head, the doubts consuming me. The next day, my car broke down on the way to work. $500 in repairs that I didn't have. I sat on the old couch in my apartment, looking at the vision board I had put together. "What nonsense," I murmured, nearly tearing everything off the wall. Sarah noticed my discouragement during the shift at the restaurant. "What's wrong? You seemed so excited last week," she commented while we organized the orders. "It's just. I don't know if all of this makes sense, Sarah. I sit here visualizing money and prosperity, but the bills just keep coming." She stopped what she was doing and looked at me seriously. "And what are you doing besides visualizing?" The question kept hammering in my head. That night, I reread a chapter from a book, and a sentence jumped out at me: "Action leverages attraction. Without movement, there are no results." Movement, I repeated to myself. I need to move. I grabbed my phone and started researching ways to make extra money. I found a delivery app that allowed me to work on weekends. "You're going to kill yourself working," Mike commented, seeing me prepare the thermal backpack for deliveries. "I'd rather wear myself out trying than stay still complaining," I replied, surprising myself with the firmness in my voice. The first few weeks were brutal. I woke up at 5 a.m., made deliveries until 8 a.m., rushed to the restaurant, and on weekends, more deliveries. My body ached, but something inside me was changing. One night, counting the extra earnings from the day, I realized it wasn't just about the money. It was about proving to myself that I could do more, be more. Maybe manifestation isn't magic, I thought. Maybe it's about creating opportunities and having the courage to seize them. It was just another delivery night and the app directed me to a penthouse apartment. The mirrored elevator reflected my tired image, messy hair, thermal backpack on my back. "Come in, please," said a gray-haired gentleman with thin glasses. "I'm Robert. Could you wait a moment? I want to check the order." As he checked the packages, I noticed the pictures on the wall, financial graphs and impressive certificates. "You look exhausted," Robert commented, watching me. "How many hours do you work a day?" "About 16 hours, more or less," I replied, surprised by his interest. between the restaurant and the deliveries. Sit for a minute, he offered, pointing to a chair. There's something different about you. Most delivery drivers barely make eye contact. I hesitated but eventually sat down. I'm trying to change my life, I confessed. I've been studying manifestation and... Manifestation? He interrupted, smiling. Interesting. And what are you manifesting? Financial freedom, I replied, feeling a bit silly. I have a goal to pay off my debts and save $100,000. To my surprise, he didn't laugh. Do you know what the problem with manifestation is? People think it's magic. But it's science, strategic thinking combined with consistent action. He stood up and grabbed a piece of paper. You work in a restaurant, right? What else do you know how to do? Well, I've learned a lot about cooking over the past few years. And why aren't you monetizing that knowledge? I frowned. What do you mean? How many people do you know who can't even fry an egg? Who order delivery every day because they don't know how to cook? My mind started racing. Robert continued, start small. Record short videos teaching basic recipes. Create a simple online course. Use what you already know. But, what if nobody wants to buy? What if they do? He countered. The fear of failure is costing you the possibility of success. Before I left, he wrote something down on a piece of paper. This is my email. Send me the link when you create your first course. And remember, manifestation without action is just fantasy. I took the elevator down with my head buzzing with ideas. That same night, I started structuring my first basic cooking course. For the first time, I felt like I was in control of my destiny. Manifestation had brought me to Robert, but now it was time to act. Lucas, you need to see this. Sarah shouted, running over to me with her phone. Your video on how to make homemade pasta went viral. I couldn't believe the numbers. 50,000 views in 24 hours. My email was flooded with people asking about the full course. It's not much, but I managed to pay off my first debt today, I mentioned to Robert during our weekly coffee, which had become a ritual. The first of many, he smiled. How are you feeling? It's strange, it's not just about the money. It's like something has changed inside here, I pointed to my chest. The following week, I received a message from a student in the course, your videos changed my life. I was able to throw my first party as a personal chef thanks to you. That hit me hard. I wasn't just manifesting money, I was creating real value for other people. Hey, boss, I called my manager at the restaurant. I need to cut back my hours. My online business is growing. He looked at me surprised. That little video project of yours? It actually worked? More than I imagined, I replied, proud. That night, I sat down to update my financial spreadsheet. The debts were decreasing, and for the first time in years, I saw a substantial positive balance in my account. Kelly, my skeptical sister, called me, I saw your videos on TikTok. I can't believe you actually made it happen. You know what's crazier? I replied. It all started when I decided to believe it was possible. Mike, my roommate, started asking me for investment tips. How did you change so fast? It wasn't fast, I explained, showing him my goal notebook. It was small steps every day. The law of attraction isn't magic, it's about aligning your thoughts with your actions. One night, rereading my old notes, I found that first piece of paper where I had written my goal of $100,000. Now it no longer seemed impossible. The manifestation is real, I texted Robert. but not in the way I thought. Of course it's real, he replied. But remember, you didn't manifest money. You manifested courage to act, discipline to persist, and wisdom to learn. Money is just a consequence. I looked at my vision board, now covered not just with dreams, but with real achievements. The law of attraction hadn't changed my life, it had given me the courage to change myself. In less than a year, I was sitting in my new home office, looking out the window. My new car parked down there shone in the sun. The bank notification showed the balance, $120,547. 83, I made it, I whispered to myself. But the taste of victory had a bittersweet flavor. You don't even show up for Sunday dinners anymore, my mom complained over the phone. Money changed you, son. Mom, I'm working. Building something bigger. Bigger than your family? Her words weighed heavily. I hung up the phone and opened Instagram. Dozens of messages from students thanking me, but also nasty comments from old friends. You must have won the lottery, one said. You got lucky, wrote another. You've become stuck up, commented a third. Kelly showed up unannounced at my new apartment. I need to borrow $15,000, she blurted out, without even saying hello. You have so much money now. Kelly, I can't. That money is invested, it has a purpose. Her face turned into a mask of hurt and anger. Of course, now that you're rich, you've forgotten your family. You've changed, Lucas. I haven't changed, I replied, feeling a lump in my throat. I just learned to value what I've built. That night, alone in my spacious apartment, reality hit me. I had manifested material wealth, but I was losing valuable connections. I called Robert. Why does no one celebrate our success? I asked, frustrated. Because success is a mirror, he replied calmly. It forces people to look at their own choices and limitations. Some aren't ready for that reflection. And what do? Keep being you. Those who truly matter will understand in time. Success is not just about money, Lucas. It's about personal growth. I sat on the balcony, watching the city. I had manifested everything I wanted, but the universe gifted me something more valuable, wisdom. The true test isn't getting the money, I thought. It's keeping your essence when it arrives. I picked up my phone and messaged my mom, I'll be there for dinner on Sunday. Can we talk? The true manifestation wasn't in my bank account. It was in the person I had become, someone capable of maintaining their values while pursuing their dreams. I sat in the same cafe where it all began, waiting for Robert. The place hadn't changed, but I had. You know what's funny? I commented when he arrived. I used to dream of money. Now, I dream of impact. Robert smiled, adjusting his glasses. You finally understood true manifestation. Yesterday, a student sent me a message that made me cry, I shared, pulling out my phone. He wrote, Lucas, your teachings didn't just save my finances, they saved my marriage. For the first time, I have hope. I showed Robert my new project, a free financial education platform. I'm going to use 30% of my profits to keep this running, I explained. I want to help people who are where I was. And your family? He asked. Sunday dinners are back, I smiled. My mom finally understood that I didn't lose my values, I just grew. Kelly and I talked a lot. She enrolled in the course and is starting her own business. Mike, my old roommate, showed up at the cafe. Hey, Professor. He joked. I came to say thank you. That advice about investments changed my life. I managed to put down a payment on my apartment. After Mike left, Robert looked at me seriously. What was the biggest lesson of this journey? I thought for a moment. That manifestation isn't about asking the universe. It's about becoming the person capable of realizing your dreams. And the money? He teased. It's just a tool, I replied. True wealth lies in the lives we touch, in the people we help grow. I pulled out my phone and showed him a picture of my first vision board, filled with cutouts of cars and houses. Funny how our dreams evolve, I reflected. Now my board has pictures of students achieving their dreams, stories of overcoming. And do you feel richer for it? Robert asked. Infinitely, I replied. You know that feeling of emptiness I had even after making money? It disappeared when I started helping others. I looked out the cafe window, watching people pass by. Every person there has a dormant dream, I said. Everyone has the potential to manifest greatness. Sometimes, they just need someone to believe in them. Robert stood up to leave. Keep spreading that message, Lucas. The universe brought you here for a greater reason. I sat there, thinking about how many lives I could still touch. True manifestation isn't in what we receive, but in what we become capable of giving. And you, who are listening to this now, what story do you want to manifest? So, what did you think of this incredible journey of transformation? If this story inspired you in any way, leave your like so more people can learn from it. Write in the comments, I will manifest my change, and share your dreams with us. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to keep up with more content that could be the first step to transforming your life. See you in the next video.